Live?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. World IP Day was launched in the year 2000 on 26 April by the World Intellectual Property Organization to promote and protect creative ideas, including music, art, trademarks, writings, and inventions. This year, its Director General Darren Tang announced that 26 April 2029 will shine a light on the critical role of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs in the economy, and how they can use intellectual property rights to build stronger, more competitive and resilient businesses. Hence, the theme of this year's WIPO IP Day is IP and SMEs taking your ideas to market. In India, the Indian Performing Rights Society is the preeminent copyright society, and it is launching the IPRS for Fair Music campaign between 26th and 30th April. A series of virtual get-togethers are planned of the industry. The first of these is this one, bringing together industry stalwarts. This will be followed by Know Your Rights on Wednesday, 20th April at 4 p.m. an informative session on IP and copyright law by Amit Datta, an eminent copyright lawyer. The session will benefit all IP rights holders in the music industry who want to know how they may best protect and preserve their works in this fast evolving music landscape. On 30th April, the IPRS will be hosting an online session to address the frequently asked questions on IPRS licensing based on usage and platform. Titled Music Licensing, Why and How. It will take place at 4 p.m. And you can watch these on the IPRS Facebook page, www.facebook.com IPRS.org. So that's www.facebook.com IPRS.org. Hi, I'm Anil Vanwari, the founder and CEO and editor-in-chief of the 14-year-old radioandmusic.com and rnmbiz.com, part of the 21-year-old Indian television group. I will, in whatever way I can, along with my co-moderator, Anushree Rauta, the founder of IPR Mint Law, and our esteemed panelists will try and make sense of what many seasoned campaigners in the music business are still trying to get their heads around: copyright and royalties. So how are you, Anushree? Are you looking forward to today's session?
Absolutely, Anil. We have an interesting panel and looking forward to this discussion.
Fantastic. Great to have you to co-host this with me. You know, it's sometimes I get confused by all this copyright, royalties, mechanical royalties, as does Tasim, who's going to be talking about it in the not too distant future. In today's session, we'll be highlighting the importance that IP plays in the music business and how the IPRS has been reimagining and reinventing itself to ensure that creators, publishers, and labels get their dues in terms of royalties for their musical works in a rapidly digitizing ecosystem. We at radioandmusic.com are more than delighted to partner with the IPRS for this important initiative. Remember that along with Branded, the IMI, the IPRS, SIMCA, the IPPL, and Nokia, we organized India's leading music conference for 5 years, Nokia Music Connects. And we were more than happy to take on the much debated issue of copyright and intellectual property in music then. It was like the Wild West in those days, 10 years ago. Going forward, we've launched the Radio and Music Clef Music Awards, which have more than 54 categories, covering talent in every genre of music, lyricists, composers, sound engineers, technicians, and platforms. Please send in your entries, the entire music industry. Independent artists and writers and lyricists can also apply. We are inviting senior members of the industry to be on advisory board. We've got confirmations from many of them. What do you say, Anushree? How have times changed in the royalty and the copyright business, as far as IPRS is concerned?
So there has been a lot of progress now, Anil, since what it was back, prior to 2012. IPRS, I think in 2017 got its re-registration, and it's completely a new revamped IPRS now. And I think we have Rakeshji over here with us to speak more on it.
Oh, fantastic. Great. So I'll begin by asking one basic question, and each of the panelists have to answer it. What role does intellectual property play in your business? How important it is to each one of you? I'll begin by asking Hina that. Can you unmute yourself, please? Yeah.
Yeah, just that. Thank you. Thanks, Anil. Appreciate it. So, like we were talking, IP is complicated.
Honors of introducing yourself.
Okay, sorry. This is Hina Kriplani, and I head TuneCo for India. TuneCo is pretty much the leading distribution platform in India for the DIY artists, for the independent artists. Our job essentially is to find the audiences for artists who want to self-distribute. So that's where we come in. To answer your question, I like to talk in analogies. I like to understand things in analogies. To me, IP really is the seed. It's the first set of cells, and it forms the base of the building blocks that are created and then recreated. So it's extremely important to protect and reward the person who's created this, who's made this. So there for me is why it's this important. And really, the role of the IP rights is to protect the thinker, and it's far-reaching. So no matter what form, value, height, size, the implementation of that idea grows to, the originator should always be acknowledged and rewarded for it. That's why I think it's vital, and it absolutely needs to be considered and it needs to be formalized. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. Raju, over to you. What does IP mean to you as a composer?
Hi, everybody. I'm Raju Singh here. I'm a music composer, and I don't think so I know anything else besides doing music. So, saying that, being a composer, musician, IP is actually the core existence of our basic what we are able to do, create. And it's basically the shield of protection for what we create, and it having some value around the world for the creators to benefit out of it. And मेरे से म्यूजिक करवा लो, इसके बारे में इतना मत बोलो.
आप बोलिए प्लीज, आप हिंदी में बात कीजिए. हिंदी में भी ठीक.
No, that's fine, but I mean, basically, see, intellectual property, we've
oxygen hai, right? IP is like oxygen to you. You have blood, but if you don't have oxygen, you can't survive.
Yeah, correct. I mean, well put in. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Tasim, what does IP mean to you as a new age publisher whom also manages artists and talent?
So, IP means mystery to me. It's one of the most important thing which I think everybody in the music industry should be aware of. It should be a very simple, thing which should a knowledge which should be available to anybody and everybody. And it's like how if you buy a flat, how sale deed and share certificate is important. That is the importance of IP in the piece of music, I feel. But again, as I said in the beginning, it's a mystery. I mean, I feel I'm not educated enough yet. I'm trying my level best. As a manager, we did not know much about IPs when we started our career. After a few years, we got into the scene of understanding IPs in real terminology. And to musicians, like I manage represent a lot of composers and writers. Their IPs are their pension fund and their plan. For music labels and publishers, IPs are the the certificate of ownership for them, which defines what you own and what you have. And the sooner we can simplify it and sooner I can learn more about it, I'll be able to share more details about it.
Okay, over to Aditya. आप जरा unmute कर लीजिए. हाँ, बोलिए.
Hi, thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
IP is the core part for our business. 24/7, it's IP for us. It's IP acquisition, IP licensing, IP protection, and it's, as you said, it's oxygen for us, and it's very, very important. And as Tasim said, we are student and we are still learning. Every day new evolves. This IP rules, regulations are evolving, and we are still learning. It's very important for all of us to be updated and knowing about it.
Great, thank you. Over to Atul. I'll come to Harsh, then I'll come to Rakesh now last.
So IP, I can't explain it better than all the other gentlemen and lady who've done that. So I'll just say it's a two-step process. IP means money, and IP means very little money at the moment.
Now I understood
it.
No, but how important is catalog? That's also IP.
Look, the backbone, the very basis of the entertainment business is IP. So, you can't put it in any other way. Whatever you're creating, whether it's a film, whether it's music, design, art, whatever, it's all about intellectual property, which is creation. So it's creation, which then has a copyright law to monetize it. Right? So it's really your monetization of the creation. That is what IP centers around.
Great. So, Harsh?
Hi, everyone. First of all, and thank you, Indian Television and IPR Mentor, for having me. Well, IP for me, I really come into picture. I'm a practicing advocate. So I come into picture on the enforcement side of it. So for IP, for me, it means ensuring that the clients who come to me, who have had done the labor to create something, I'm able to ensure protection of their rights. They get their fair share, they get their due. And if somebody is infringing their rights, I come into the picture to ensure that their rights are protected as per law. So really, IP for me means protecting the rights of my clients and ensuring that they have their day in court and are able to protect whatever rights are available to them in law. That's what IP means to me.
Thank you for that. Finally, most important man in the hot seat, Rakesh, your perspective on what IP means and how important it is to the music business.
For us as IPRS, intellectual property means that because we daily breathe in and breathe out only intellectual property, in the sense that we only make money because of intellectual property and the rights which flow through that. I would say, like Atul and others have said, we can divide this world into two sides. Those who want to pay money and those who don't want to pay money. Those who don't want to pay money say that, what is it intellectual property? We haven't understood. What is IPRS, what is sound recording, what is singers. And the people, those who want to pay, they said, okay, there is a due to you. We are playing your music and we need to pay you. So it's as simple as that, there has to be an intention to pay. You will find out a mechanism with all your lawyers that we need to pay. Otherwise, you will always find brilliant lawyers who will tell you, okay, we can drag. In India, because there is no system that, when you use someone else's IP, where you can get penalized or there can be a deterrent. So, you can always take as long as you can take in the courts, not to pay or to avoid paying it. And secondly, as you said, like Raju ji and everyone is here, Tar saying music is not just music, just audio. Music is a part of even films, visuals and everything. So, music plays a larger than life role. It's not just that, whatever you hear as songs is music. Even background music creates a lot of ambience and everything. So it's there all across, right? From audio, visual and live singing. So, this is how intellectual property should be protected so that, we can create. India is a soft power for IP and you can only reach throughout the world through music because music has no language. So that is why, we all need to cherish that, we are born in a country whereby we have such brilliant music and we all need to protect our IPs.
Just like the K-pop industry.
Anil. So on World Intellectual Property Day, Rakesh has come up with a new one. Please make this a point. IP means intention to pay.
The soft power that they've put across the world, and today K-pop is BTS is considered one of the most valuable groups in the world. Right, Atul?
Absolutely.
To find the different elements that are available in music licensing. There's sync, sound, there is mechanical royalties, if you can, or Anushri, who wants to take this up? Very simply, just define that for the audience to understand that. Anushri, you want to take it up?
On mechanical royalties?
Oh, no, every of the different royalties which are there. The simply divide,
Sure. So mechanical royalties is basically your right to reproduce, the royalties which come from reproduction rights, if you put it in simple words. Synchronization is where you're syncing one content into another content, and it's again divided into master rights and publishing rights. I think what IPRS deals with is publishing rights, which in layman terms, if you put it, it's your lyrics and your musical composition. So the ownership of that is called publishing. And master is your sound recording rights.
Yeah. So simply put, Tasin, have you understood anything? कुछ समझ में आया कि अभी तक नहीं आया?
No, so Anil sir, this much I understand really well. I'm in fact helping people understand these things right now. I'm working as a consultant for few people. ये सब तो समझ में आता है, ये सब की problem नहीं.
वो बताइए, वो हम आपको समझ.
The scene is the implementation of it. So for me, what I have understood, copyright and publishing is primarily the soul, and the master recording is the body. So a soul can have multiple bodies, a body cannot have multiple souls. So this I have, kind of did it for myself. कि मुझे ये समझ में आ गया. So now every time you need to do anything with the body because soul के बगैर exist नहीं करती है, you have to approach both the people, body and soul. So master recording, publishing, दोनों चाहिए. And if you want to do anything just with the soul, you don't need the master recording. That's what I understand very clearly. Okay. The problem lies when there is a specific thing. There is a specific thing where there are two lawyers on both sides of the table. And one explains that you need it. One explains that you don't need it. And those explanations are so complicated. Uske baad mein implementation of the same in the, in the court of law in India. It's so complicated that I get confused every time. So for me, I'm very, very clear on what these rights are. But the problem is the implementation, the real implementation of it.
Yeah, so Harsh, can you step in here to kind of demystify it for him?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, as Anushri rightly put it, I would actually agree with Tarsim that the royalty business here in India and the rights that are available to different parties are quite confusing. I won't say that they are not. Frankly, that's where we come in. So, I mean, simply put, and to simplify it, I mean, really speaking, there is a right which you have in the sound recording, or if I may loosely put for the audience, it's the song itself. I mean, sound recording is the legal term, song itself. And then there are rights which are available, say, in the underlying works which make the song, which is the lyrics and the musical composition. The debate really that is going on right now is, and which is actually a very interesting debate, that when the sound recording or the song is being exploited, is it that the underlying works, meaning the lyrics and the musical compositions, they are also getting exploited along with the song? And if that is indeed the case, then is it required to be compensated separately? Meaning if, say, different people hold different rights under the Copyright Act, it's a bundle of rights, I mean, as we have it. So like one person will hold the rights in the sound recording, the other person will hold the right in lyrics, another person may hold the right in musical composition, or one person may hold the right in musical composition or lyrics, as Tarsim put it. But really speaking, you can have just a basic distinction of sound recording and underlying works. And in that, the debate right now is that when the sound recording gets exploited, whether the underlying works need to be compensated separately, even in that scenario. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. Say, for instance, if I play a song, nobody is disputing that when that song is getting played, the royalties are payable for exploitation of that song. Question really is whether a separate payment is required to be made for lyrics and the musical composition. Now, there are, as of now, there is a judgment by one board, intellectual property appellate board, which takes the view that yes, they are to be separately compensated in that scenario. At the same time, there is right now a judgment by the Honorable High Court of Delhi, which takes the view that no, when sound recordings are being exploited, really speaking, you would not need to compensate or take a separate license for lyrics and musical composition. So, I mean, the debate's still going on. Both judgments are up in appeal before appellate courts now, and one will now have to see what the outcome will be. And it is only then probably this mystery will get solved.
And
so I had a question. I'm sorry, I had a question which Harsh can probably answer.
Sure.
So when we sign agreements as countries, when we sign these Berne Conventions and Rome Conventions and all that, those conventions for other countries stipulate that there are separate payments required for underlying works and sound recording. As signatories to these conventions, how does an Indian court take a contrary stand?
So, I mean, you're quite right, I must say, in the sense that the amendments that actually came in 2012 were really a reflection of what some of these conventions said. And at the time, it was said that these conventions you've signed, and yet you at the local level, as in your country, you actually don't have a law wherein you're protecting the rights of these lyricists and musical people who are making these musical compositions, which really speaking, I mean, as one would put it, led to these amendments in 2012, which purportedly protect these rights, that even when a sound recording is getting exploited, these people are to be compensated separately. So, I mean, to answer you, in a way, those commitments that we made internationally by signing those conventions have been honored. But I mean, locally speaking, I mean, the courts are still open to take a view on those very provisions that you've interpreted. And as I said, one court has still taken a view that you're still not supposed to pay. So, I mean, this will again get settled. As I said, the matter will ultimately reach the Supreme Court. And I'm hoping for the benefit of the industry and actually for the benefit of all the stakeholders, we need that stability. I mean, it's too much confusion right now and it's not good for the industry. I mean, forget about us as lawyers, whether it benefits us or not. But I think stability and clarity of law and what are the different rights which are available to different stakeholders, I do believe the sooner the better.
And Harsh, what's the convention in other markets? You have certain bodies like SAC, you have other bodies which are there. So what's the convention internationally?
So that's a very good question. I must say internationally, I mean, there's really no dispute on publishing royalties being paid separately. There are separate societies for it. And really speaking, nobody is really debating it there. So when actually the debate started here, one of the examples that is given is what you just pointed out, that internationally, this is an accepted norm. Why should India have a different standard? I mean, of course, the contrapoint that is then given is that the industry here is different. Really speaking, abroad, there are artists and it's really artist-focused music. They are the ones in control. So for that reason, maybe the publishing rights are of greater significance abroad. Here, it's really film-dependent music. So whether you should borrow that here and have the same philosophy, here is an argument that people raised on the opposite side.
Okay. Tarsem, any better off in your understanding or still not?
But at this,
No.
can I say something?
To say, Raju,
Yes,
speak.
sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tarsem, did I cut you off? Sorry. You were saying something? Okay. How do we say this is a total film-dependent industry? Whereas if you see in the last decade or two, the whole non-film music with every other field, be it television, be it ads, with every other field, I think there is a lot more and bigger industries using the music and everything. So how do you say it is still a film-dependent industry?
Well, Raju, I think the short point to that is that if you look at statistics, 70% of the consumption of music in India comes from film soundtracks, Bollywood and regional music soundtracks. But, so we are looking at, let's say, 100, and it's always been 100, right? Whether in the 1980s or today, it's 100. And how's that 100 divided? And the 70% number has been fairly constant. At one point of time, we had basically film music and devotional music. Devotional was the second largest chunk. So that would have been about 15% of the market, from 70 in film to 15 in devotional. That was the thing. And then there was classical and international, etc., which is still the case. So it's the dominance of the popularity of film music that makes everyone think about films first. And when the songs become big, so we've always had this history of songs becoming gigantic from the movies. Non-film songs, yes, we had a pop era at some point of time. Today we have these one-off hits that come off as well. But the mainstay of the business is still film music. So I think that's why we tend to think film first. It's like we think about songs and we think about music labels. We don't think publishing. Publishing is a concept that we kind of are adapting to today. But it's always been about Saregama and T-Series and Sony Music, etc. We're not talking about their publishing business.
And we're not talking about turnkey also right now, right?
Who's turnkey?
See, I just say that, the difference between India and West is not that there is no publishing business in India. It is the film producer and the film director who actually take over the role of the publisher, because they are the people, the business model I'm just saying, trying to understand, is because they hire the author composers and try and create the music. So there is not that there is a vacuum, that there is no publishing direct. You don't have a publisher directly here, but there is a film producer who does all of that. And then this is not his core business, he sells off those rights to a music label. So it's not that. And secondly, I was just asking to ask Harsh also, or to everyone, now after 2012 amendment, if people continue to say that, because IPRS is at the focal point of all of this debate and royalties and everything, there is I probably understand that laws are made to encourage and help businesses and not to destroy businesses. They are there to help and regulate or see that businesses prosper. Now just see the example what happens after the 2012 amendments. Now the government has passed a law that authors and composers have a irrefutable right to equal share of royalty wherever it gets exploited by way of sound recording or cinematographic film, except in a cinema hall. Just take the classic example. I'm thinking if this law is upheld or this view is upheld, the author composers have a right to royalty. That 50% right to royalty. Now, that means either they will take 50% of the right of the audio, but can you imagine what would happen if 50% of cinematographic film is being taken? Cinematographic film can mean even a direct film, or it can even mean serials on a films. So are we wanting to say the industry or everyone that IPRS or the author composer should say that out of the 10,000 crore industry, 50% of that should come to the authors and composers? The distinction we say is no. There is a separate right, which is a higher value, and there is an underlying work where there is different values, which is there is a globe. But if people are going to hold that, okay, no, there is only one right, no one can dispute the fact that there is a right to equal share of royalty. The whole businesses, everything will go for a toss. So we need to understand how laws are there to implement and to help businesses, not to destroy the whole businesses. Probably the TV industry or the radio or the film industry have not understood all of this. Tomorrow, what you mean to say that Radhe was sold for 100 crores? We are saying that it gets sold. We may have performing royalties of 50 lakhs at best or 25 lakhs. But no, we will say no, there is only one right. So obviously, for 100 crores, 50 crores has to go to author composer. That will be ridiculous. But obviously, yeah.
No, my understanding is Radhe went for 230 crores.
I'm saying only the digital right. There is a portion of theatrical rights where which you can't claim royalties.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah, Harsh. So it can destroy businesses. Or Anushri, who are the lawyers here, because it can destroy businesses if authors and composers only have 50% royalty.
No, but can't they, apportion a portion for the music, which could be a percentage of the overall budget? Then that.
If you are saying, Anil, that that there is no separate right, then there is only one right. No, then for the purpose of convenience, you can't say, okay, this is a music right. No, either you say that there are separate rights, or you don't say. Otherwise, there is only one right to take money from. So businesses have to be built up. They can't be destroyed by users, those who take it for their own purposes, for their own benefit. Take a section. I'm just saying why I'm saying this is because we are passionate about it. A section 31D. Raju Singh creates a song tomorrow, okay, and he has released it. But now tomorrow someone else invokes a section 31C, a compulsory license or a version recording, and he says he makes the music. Now, after that, if it gets exploited on radio, television, digital, is he not entitled to a royalty?
So, Rakesh, I think the problem we've had since the 1977 judgment is simply that the argument was never about ownership. Nobody was actually challenging ownership. I don't know how this conversation turned into an ownership conversation, when at that time also, the question was about the right to royalty.
Atul, I'll tell you, very few people know that, when IPRS had gone against, the producers had gone against an appeal against first, in 71, when IPRS has published its tariff, the film producers approached the Copyright Tribunal. In 71 or 74, the tribunal ruled in favor of IPRS and said that there is a separate right and that you need to pay royalties whenever music is played as a part of a film in a cinema hall or anywhere. The people went into appeal first into the High Court, Kolkata High Court, which said that Kolkata High Court never went into the question of whether separate rights exist or not. It only said that owners have the right to collect royalties.
Correct.
And unless the author composer are contract to the contrary. This question of, probably what I understand, the question of duality of rights was set by the tribunal itself. But unfortunately, the Calcutta High Court, and we only take the portion that to read that only it was only a question of ownership. Because it was a question of ownership is because the duality of rights was set there itself.
Correct.
The tribunal itself, Copyright Tribunal that time, Copyright Board had ruled that yes, there is a separate right and you need to pay this separately even after playing of the cinematographic film. So people try and confuse between ownership and separate rights. And, courts don't have much of the time to hear all of these arguments. So, within 5 minutes, either they say yes or a no. So it's very unfortunate.
Hence my point about we need special tribunals to hear copyright matters. It doesn't
Atul, I
work
agree.
in the regular courts of law. You cannot.
Atul, I understand you, but unfortunately now the law has been passed and we need to deal with it. I don't think so. It's going to change very soon, and like next 2-3 years, to have a separate tribunal.
Great, I know. We've let the elephant out of the room.
Yeah.
Let's get on to better things. Anushri, so the big elephant was our understanding of copyright and intellectual property. That's out. Now, Anushri, you can start asking questions. Please go ahead.
So, Rakesh, I mean, coming again in this whole confusion, I'm sure, because IPR is all about dealing with publishing royalties. So what are the challenges which you have been facing even on the licensing front, and this entire confusion? How has it impacted IPRS?
So as I said, what I started to open up, people, those who have the intention to pay, understand the law. And those who do not have the intention to pay will have lawyers to guide them that why it should not be paid, or we are only using an end product. They try and give an example of iron ore to iron. So, very simple. So that is why. So we face these challenges daily. The global players, those who unfortunately come from countries whereby, they have very clearly in their mind that, these are two separate rights and they need to be paid. It's not because the Indian arm must not be resisting it, but it's a mandate which comes understanding from the global headquarters that, these are two separate rights and they need to be compensated. So all international players, would be YouTube, whether it be Facebook, whether it is Spotify, whether Apple, everyone, or whether it is Netflix who's also talking and everything, everyone wants to pay royalties. Even in India, we have players like Hangama Music who have started paying up. There are some issues. We have Alt Balaji. A lot of players are talking up and doing this. But those intentions are to pay, will try and find and meet you, and they will haggle around with you on the pricing, on the fees to be paid. Those whose intentions are not to pay will always find out a way, whether the 77 judgment is there, whether, we need to pay separately, whether, so they try either to use this mechanism, either to bring down your valuations, or they say that, okay, we don't need to pay this, you need to go and ask for a single royalty. So it's not that it's made life easy, it's made life much more tougher. But so, yes, because of the digital services, yes, we have been able to, collect better royalties.
But how have you gotten around this dichotomy and this duality?
As I said, those who intentions are to pay, all global players are wanting to pay royalties. So they are paying separate royalties for all of this. It's most of the Indian players, whether it be a Ghana, whether it be a Savan, whether it be a Wink, whether it be a Vodafone. These are players, those who have the might, who can sway the courts because of whatever powers they hold. They can take dates, they can take adjournments, but ensure that, to pay royalties gets prolonged.
I get it. Now we've got the elephant past us now. How has the last 1 year been as far as the business?
IPRS. See, touchwood, in 1920, we had touched 172 crores. Fortunately, in 2021, also we have closed at 170 crores. In spite of all the turbulences and everything, digital royalties have sprung up, and we have tried to make up in other areas because public performance fell by more than 80%. Television royalties virtually went out because, they kept on negotiating for lower royalties. So the only savior was digital royalties. The other thing, the good thing what IPRS did was, during these COVID times, we ensured that, we worked overtime, and through all our work from home, we kept on distributing royalties to all the authors, composers, and publishers. I'm happy to inform that, in the year 2021, we distributed close to 185 crore rupees of royalties to all the authors and composers and the publishers. And out of it, significantly, probably authors, composers would have got around 60-65% of these royalties. So IPRS has worked time to see that, to uphold the right that, economic interests of the authors, composers get protected, and they reach royalties on the right time.
Yeah. So Aditya, how has it been for you the past year?
That's that past year, as I said, past year has been very challenging in terms.
Yeah, Rakesh.
Yeah.
You're smiling, but he's not speaking.
Aditya.
Aditya, you're talking about to me.
Aditya, Rakesh.
Aditya.
Luckily for us, the last year was very good, and we, as Rakeshji said, because of the digital platforms, the new platforms came in, and because of that, the consumption over the digital platforms was increasing for us, and there were lots of releases. And luckily, we were expecting that due to pandemic, the number of releases will go down. But soon after the lift off of lockdown, we saw good number of releases coming in South India, and the consumption and everything was really, the numbers have grown, and mainly because in the regional market is picking up, and it's picking up at a big time because of deep penetration of internet, smartphones. The numbers are growing, and because of this IPRS, that now all these global players paying rightful royalties to IPRS, even that's good for all the players in the industry, even for the creators and all of us.
Yeah. So which are the big rights you picked up? Did you pick up master?
No, that's Tamil. We predominantly operate in Telugu market.
Yeah.
The
Which one did you pick up?
recent biggest one was Ala Vaikuntapuram, which was a national hit, and then the recent ones were Upenna and Vakil Saab, which was a remake of Pink, starring Pawan Kalyan. And there are lots of forthcoming movies of Allu Arjun, Chiranjeevi, back-to-back releases which are lined up.
Oh, congratulations. Wish you all the best for them. So, Raju, over to you. How was it for you last year, the last 1 year?
Last year, actually, since I already work from home, so I mean, that was not much of a difference for me working from home. But our television, OTT, of course, was really doing well. So OTT, I mean, films and the shows, that's what kept me busy. And with all the free time, besides that also, I think got a lot of time to learn around where we stand within our music industry, about rights, publishing rights, what all these things are, where we stand, where we lack, especially within our creator community. I think that's where I realized that the awareness has to be really spread among our people, that at this moment, like Rakeshji said, IPRS has distributed a large sum of amount of royalties to the creators, everything. I think that's been a great help to all the creators, and to protect that. And I see a lot of people not benefiting out of it because they've not updated their works. They've not kept their societies updated with what works they've done and all that. I think that's where I think there's another responsibility a creator has to actually keep the communication. The IPRS is your society, and you have to keep the connect on with them. So a lot of people would lose money if IPRS doesn't know, or that person is not a member there, or that person has not updated the particular work with the society. So I feel that's the area we're really working upon, from IPRS itself also, to create the awareness and make sure that people don't lose out on that share of the royalties and everything.
From your side,
whereas,
specifically from your side in this area, have you been reaching out to your colleagues?
Yes, definitely. And I mean, from IPRS side also, and plus being in MCI also. So from Music Composers Association of India also, we've been really trying to speak to people, let them know. What happens is, now it's still better, but the whole impression was, royalties सिर्फ सुनाई देती है, दिखती नहीं है. So that is changing, and since that has changed, now people are getting into knowing what is publishing, who would be their publisher, or should we give the rights? These are the kind of questions which come in. So I think it's been a good. I think it's, in a way, pandemic is reason se nahi hona chahiye tha, but I think this break was needed for people to get the time to actually start understanding what are the rights and how you're supposed to have an admin section within your work to actually update, do all these things. That's a separate music business section which you should be having. So we've been doing a bit and doing that thing.
और क्या करना चाहिए हमें? आपकी राय में क्या कमी है अभी भी?
मुझे लगता है being in IPRS now, I think the fair pay जो हम लोग बात कर रहे थे, जैसे there are only 2 radio companies, correct me if I'm wrong, Rakesh, which actually pay their royalties, which are due, and the rest of the section is actually sitting in fighting in courts कि ये नहीं होना चाहिए या नहीं, जो भी whatever that. I am saying, why, when it happens all over the world and we are signing these treaties, like Atul said, the Burns Convention, the treaties and everything, how do we match up to that? There we stand up and say we're going to match up to the standards and then sit here and change things. I mean, जिनको नहीं देना, जैसे राकेश जी आपने बोला, they would rather spend more money fighting it out rather than actually paying, which would be lesser than what you're actually fighting out. Sorry, Harsh, I'm just.
Not at all, not at all.
but it doesn't make sense to me.
Protect करेगा, आप अपनी business protect करो यार.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't hear you.
वो अपनी business protect करेगा, आप अपनी business protect करो. आप क्यों चंदा?
मैं वही तो बोल रहा हूँ, अपनी business protect क्या कर रहा है? वो तो जितने हमें देने हैं, उससे ज्यादा तो courts में खर्चे कर रहे हैं to fight it.
हाँ, लेकिन आप क्षमा मत मांगिए.
मैं किससे क्षमा मारूं? मैं तो बोल रहा हूँ मान जाओ. एटलीस्ट अगर हमें नहीं सुन के मानना है, तो जो treaties की है, जो India is standing to sign those treaties and all that, just match up to that. Yeah. Whatever industry difference, I mean, difference like Harsh said, it's a different kind of industry and all that. Actually, I think it's more to sit down towards that and finish it. It might sound very simple to me, but it's getting more and more complicated just doing that.
Thank you for that, Raju. Hina, how has the past year been for you? What have you achieved?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, the very fact that, because the Indian film industry kind of is at a standstill, we've had like a major spot with independent musicians coming to the fore and distributing their music, because they're doing what they want to do now. They're actually being able to create and stuff. So we saw a great spot, and we've also seen some really great music come out of it. Because, in all of this conversation, we forget that it's all about the music finally, and that's what we're able to do. So we've seen that. And also we've made it really like our job to make sure that, so we've taken these independent artists who, traditionally would be Bollywood singers and so on and so forth, and pushed them out into the world, made sure that they've got their place in the sun as independent musicians. So it's worked well for them and it's worked well for us. Like TuneCore just worldwide, and it's got nothing to do with just India and Bollywood and the film industry, but worldwide we paid out $2 billion in revenue last year across, since inception. So it's been I mean, it's awful to say, but it's been a good time for the independent musician who's been able to come out and put out his music he needs to. And we've been doing our job in making sure that they get the revenue they deserve.
Have the musicians managed to make some good money, the independents?
Yeah, most definitely. Better than before, for sure. And also the thing is that, it depends on who you are and what, of course, who your audience is. And it's like distribution is one part of it, right? You have to basically touch upon all the different spokes that make up the entire thing. So as far as we're concerned, we make sure that, they get 100% of their revenue. And because we have direct dealings with the DSPs and so on and so forth, there's no middleman. We make sure that they get 100% off 100%. So we do our bit. So they are making more money than they have in the past.
So if
that makes me happy.
If I as an artist publish my music, how do I work with you?
So we're not a publishing company. We have a publishing arm. We have a publishing administrative arm, but in India, essentially, we're a distribution company. So for us, it's really simple. What we've done is productized it. We've said, you're an artist. You need to get your music to the world. That's the core of what you want to do. You make the music and you want people to listen to it. We can't make the music for you. We have no talent. So what we can do is get it out there to the world. And that's where we come in. We think of ourselves as a service. We essentially will tell an artist to go to the website. You upload your music, you pay a service fee, and thereon you sit back and we will take this thing and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
So you'll put
we distribute to
music, you'll put it on Amazon Music, you'll put it everywhere.
150 plus stores, and I'm very proud of the fact that we're the only ones who are also doing all the 4 Indian majors. We're the only DIY platform that managed to do all the 4 Indian majors as well, which is like Tana, Hungama, Wink, and Joe Savan as well. So that's essentially it. And even our service fees, we've made sure that our service fees are, easy for the artist. It's like a cup of coffee. It's $4.99 for a single, $14.99 for an album. So we've simplified it. And what we've, I think, brought to it, which a lot of artists appreciate, and we hear this time and again, is transparency. It's an entire process. Wherein up upload karo, you sit back, it goes up, and you're able to check your stream count, your download count. You're able to see, geo-wise, like who's your demographic, who's listening to your music, and you're able to strategize for the future as well. So it's not just about the present; it's also about what you can do further from there on.
Thank you for that. Sorry, Anushri, are you asking them?
Yeah, I was asking Hina that do you think that self-distribution is the future now for the music industry?
Well, so self-distribution is part of distribution. I think different artists have different needs. We're not obliterating any other form of distribution. TuneCore is part of Believe. Believe offers different services as well. So, there's trade marketing involved at Believe, and there's artist services and so on and so forth. Self-distribution does not take away from anything else. It basically is your first level, your first line of entrance into distribution. Because there are loads of artists who can't get a deal, who cannot, can't approach a label and say, this is me, my mom knows me and I know me, so now you give me a deal. It doesn't work like that. But here we are saying that there is no A&R as far as we're concerned. If you have an original piece of music that you hold the rights to, you can distribute it. So very often we work with labels, in the sense we are actually, if a label has the astuteness, they essentially will look at what TuneCore is distributing and then look at the streams, look at the artists, and then use us as a place to, find artists as well. So self-distribution is definitely part of it. And more importantly, I think the democracy that it affords is a really great way for the future to go, and also the present, because it exists today. It's just that, like Raju was saying, education is really important. It's very important for artists to be aware, and also independent artists to understand that it's important for them to be independent and to actually use the tools that are out there for them. So that's what we are consistently and constantly doing.
Thank you, Anushri. I'm just going to ask Tarsim, आपके लिए पिछला साल कैसे रहा? What were you busy with?
I was busy with survival.
Private label शुरू किया आपने?
जी. So Anil, last year जब COVID शुरू हुआ, Atul sir is smiling already. So I had a very simple approach, that first you need to take care of yourself. That's the most important thing. We need to be alive, all of the team. Our majority of our business, if you look at what I do, our majority revenue comes from live events. I mean, almost 85 to 90% of our revenue, and they became zero suddenly. And we were sure that at least for the 6-8 months, I mean, anything else which we do, whether we've started a music label last year, I mean, we saw an opportunity and we wanted to help young and emerging artists, and we saw an opportunity, we did that. Those things don't make money in the short run. Those are long-term things. All the other businesses which we also do, like running a publication or conference or festival, they also don't make money. Those are our projects which we are very passionate about it. But the revenue all comes from majority revenue comes from live events, which was completely stopped. So we tried and tried our level best to think about what are the alternate opportunities we have. So last 1 year, we must have tried 20 different things. Out of 20 different things which we tried in digital and other spaces, some of them worked, some of them didn't work, and we somehow survived. That's what we did in the last 12 months. And currently, while speaking, it was improving now, but from April to, the lockdown has started again. But there are some key things which has happened in last 1 year. I was very happy. I was a part of a lot of deals with gentlemen sitting here, Rakesh ji, Aditya. So I was helping some brands to get music licensing for their platforms. We also did a lot of influencer marketing works. Influencer marketing is a really new business which has evolved in the last 3-4 years, and it is growing at the speed of light. We actually invested in a influencer marketing company, and we did a decent business there. And in the music label space, we recently also got into a Haryanvi music label. And I mean, I'm very happy to share that one of the song of that label, Bawan Gaj Ka Daman, has become the most watched Haryanvi song ever in India. It's almost 870 million while we are talking. And it is also 15th most watched song across any language and anywhere on YouTube. So these are the few things which we did in the last 12 months.
Mubarak ho, nobody can keep you down, right? Not even a pandemic.
Sir, we are hustler. As a personality, we are hustlers. तो अभी क्या है, लाइफ थोड़ी सेटल हुई थी 2-3 साल, वापस हसल करने का मौका मिला, वापस हसलर बन गए. सिंपल है.
There's another way of saying it. You can't keep a good man down.
Exactly. It's the same. Exactly what I meant. Anushri, over to you.
Tasim, I have a question for you. Despite being a young label, you managed to crack a deal with some of these short video platforms. How did you do? यहाँ पे हम लोग जब भी जाते हैं, हमारे सामने तो MySpace judgment पकड़ा देते हैं. How did you manage?
No, but that's two different things. We were not able to crack a deal as a young label. I'm sorry. I mean, that's a wrong information. So no platform is paying us money as a label. As a label, we are signed with Believe, and Believe does the distribution and all those things for us. I consulted a couple of platforms for getting music licenses from the top labels and IPRs. So it's two different things. So as a label, as a young label, nobody pays you money. You know that. Until and unless your catalog cannot be ignored, that's when you. When I want to add one point, when Rakeshji was talking, I wanted to make that point, and I keep on making that point again and again. As Indians, from our childhood, we love not to pay. You know, it's in our culture. You know, it's in our upbringing. If there is a concert happening of our favorite artist, and you have the ability and capacity to pay, you want somebody to invite you because you feel privileged when somebody invites you. होता है ना कि अगर आपने एक आर्टिस्ट को 10,000 रुपए की टिकट खरीद के आप उस कॉन्सर्ट को देखने गए, या फिर आपने फ्री में वहां पे देखने गए, तो प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अगर हम फ्री में जाते हैं ना, तो हमको बहुत ही प्रेस्टिजियस फील होता है. यू नो, वी फील रियली वेल दैट हम फ्री पास में गए. In the same way, it's not about people don't have the capacity to pay. About these rights and all, and a lot of people have fought with me also when I try to convince them to pay, and I tell them simple thing. Boss, अगर आपने एक घर खरीदा और उसका एक पड़ोस वाला आदमी आके बोला कि मैं आपके घर में भाड़े पे रहूंगा और आपको भाड़ा नहीं दूंगा, तो ऐसा हो सकता है क्या? तो नहीं ना, राइट? सो अगर म्यूजिक आईपी है, उसका कोई भी ओनर है, वो ओनर कोई भी हो, ओनर म्यूजिक लेबल है, पब्लिशर का राइट है, अंडरलाइंग वर्क का राइट है, वो तो बात की बात है. बट ये बेसिक थॉट कि कैन यू यूज समबडी एल्सेस प्रोडक्ट विदाउट पेइंग दैट पर्सन और विदाउट टेकिंग परमिशन फ्रॉम दैट पर्सन, दिस आइडियोलॉजी इज रॉन्ग completely, and we keep fighting among ourselves until and unless artists, music labels, publishers, IPRS, all stakeholders of the industry come together and agree that listen, we need to pay, we need to start paying for somebody else's product. ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं होगी, हम झगड़ा करते रहेंगे बट सॉल्व होगा नहीं. मतलब we might reach here and there. So I think we should all of us, you know, every time we talk to anybody, we should first try and promote and educate people that it is important to pay. पहले पे करने के लिए हाँ करो, उसके बाद में झगड़ा करेंगे किसको देना है, कितना देना है, कम देना है, ज्यादा देना है.
मैं जरा इधर कुछ बोलने वाला हूँ. एक कंपनी का सीईओ है, मैं मिडेम संभालता था इंडिया के लिए. मैंने उसको बोला कि मिडेन अटेंड करने के लिए आप 400 यूरो पे करो. म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री का सीईओ, लीडिंग म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री लेवल है, मैं नाम नहीं बताऊंगा, आप समझ लो. उसने कहा मुझे इनविटेशन आएगा, मैं पे नहीं करूंगा. तो अगर म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री के कॉन्फ्रेंस के लिए वो लोग पे नहीं करना चाहते हैं, सीईओ लोग, पब्लिक तो पे करती है. आप क्रिकेट मैच देखो, हम लोग पे करके जाते हैं क्रिकेट मैच देखने को. इवेंट हम लोग 50% कम से कम हमें स्पॉन्सर को देना पड़ता है, पुलिस वालों को, इसको देना पड़ता है, लोकल म्युनिसिपैलिटी को. सही है कि नहीं? इवेंट्स में
करेक्ट. बट सर प्रॉब्लम वो नहीं है कि पैसा नहीं देना चाहते हैं. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमारी सोसाइटी में जिसको इनवाइट किया जाता है और जो फ्री में जाता है, इट इज वेरी गुड टू फ्लॉन्ट. सो व्हेन अ फ्रेंड टेल्स यू कि मुझे उसका फ्री पास मिला, द अदर फ्रेंड विल से कि अरे क्या बात है यार. द अदर फ्रेंड डज नॉट से भिखारी है क्या फ्री पास लेके जाता है, तेरे पास पैसा क्यों नहीं देता है. until and unless we start reacting like this,
मैंने
why would somebody pay?
म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री को बोला, सीईओ को बोला, उसने भी फ्री में आया, वो उसको कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ा.
हाँ, but it is accepted norm ना सर.
सब जानते हैं वो सीईओ को.
सर आप ये सोचिए, हमारी म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री के जो एग्जीक्यूटिव्स है, 90% of them don't use a paid service. The paid service of an audio streaming platform is 30 to 50 rupees or 100 rupees a month. Okay, with all due respect, you know, but 90% of them don't use a paid service. हम कैसे किसी को convince करें? Until and unless we start respecting the art ourselves, how can we ask? I mean, you'll be surprised. A lot of artists use pirated services. I mean, Raju sir can, you know, अगर उनको मान लीजिए किसी का गाना यूज करना है, we have to fight कि यार तुम कितनी सारी सर्विसेज ऑनलाइन अवेलेबल, $5 में मिलता है, $2 में मिलता है, लो ना यार, इसको यूज करो. Why don't you pay? It's a culture we have brought in. Changing culture will take a lot of time. Until and unless we all come together and we all agree on a common thing, no, it won't change. That's the biggest problem.
Your perspective on this, Rakesh? Rakesh?
Yeah, just say, yeah. I agree completely with what, you know, Tarsim has expressed, you know. Yeah, people feel a lot of proud that, you know, अरे मुझे तो invite किया है. You know, they, यार, I am important. Event कैसे कर रहे हो आप मेरे बिना? Event नहीं करने देंगे आपको. So this problem is there, and he rightly said, you know, the whole music ecosystem. You know, when we see, as some Anushri said, yeah, Hina said, you know, in US or in Europe, and you say you have a $8 billion streaming business, is because every streaming service, most of it is paid. Spotify, when it is not paid, most of the popular songs are behind the paywall. So if you want to listen to the better songs or the good and the popular song, it is behind the paywall. So you need to have subscription. So, you know, you have more than 200 million paid subscribers. In India, unfortunately, Ghana, all songs free. You have Savan, which is free. You have Wink, which is free. And when it is free, and when the music industry says, okay, this is you're playing my music and you need to pay me, they feel that, oh, it's a burden. Because they said, I'm not making money. But, you know, unfortunately, why should the music industry or the creators bear your load? You are wanting to offer it free to the consumer. Why should the music industry and creators subsidize that? But the way they project it out is because most of the streaming platforms are larger than life. You know, they can actually influence policies, they can change things, they can get articles in your press or on digital media everywhere, which can be against the music industry or where we are not making money and these people asking us minimum guarantees. Boss, that is your model of not making money, because you want to either subscribe, it's a marketing cost for you that you want to retain your customers, or it's a cost that, you know, you want to raise money from funders or from venture capitalists. So, you know, this whole thing that the ecosystem has to change, as Tarsim said and Atul also saying that we need to bring in the culture that people need to start paying for music, and nothing is free. Yeah? Why should it be free?
Step in here, Rakesh, I'm going to step in here. In the television industry, every channel has to pay distribution costs. Every channel. When they're being distributed on Tata Sky or they're being distributed on a cable network. So therefore, the concept that there has to be a cost attached within the business plan has to come in place. So there will be an amount of money which will come towards the music industry. Has that been ever propagated by the music industry?
Because they have always been propagating that, you know, there should be fair valuation. But what is fair valuation is on both the sides. You know, you may ask for 100, they may say, I want to give 20.
Rakesh, you go to any CEO of any broadcasting company, they have a budget known as marketing costs, which is for placement on different platforms. That's all. That's all I have to say. Can the music industry evolve such a formula where everyone pays a placement fee for getting music on their platform?
See, this is something which, you know, we are a royalty collecting body. We are not someone who directly deals in a product as a sound recording. So probably Aditya or probably Atul or Tarsim, who are there as music companies, who can say, because they are driving the business.
So Tarsim, Aditya, your perspective, वो placement fee or carriage fee, can you all come up with a structure like that?
Unfortunately, no, because I'm not the authority. You give me the authority for 1 week, I'll do it. The problem is who will follow it. There are a lot of structure. So the first and foremost thing which should be there, and which should be there, that any piece of information on IP rights, what to do, what not to do, should be available at the ease of a click. So today, let's assume there is a person who wants to use a song for making video for his bride, okay, and publish it on Facebook. What kind of rights does that person need? I'm just giving you random examples. Somebody who's trying to make an ad, what are the kind of rights from whom he needs? There are hundreds of these instances and questions. I don't think there is easily available today in in 2021. Whatever you need is available on Google. आप Google पे मारो how to repair a computer. You will get almost all the information to repair a computer. But how to procure a license and official rights in India for a particular thing, it's not available. So until and unless that is available, and as per the law, again, that is one part. Second part is something which is available, which is also practicable in the court of law. कि भाई जो legitimately सही हो. Until and unless that is there, it is very difficult to put in a such. That's for me.
कंपोज कर रहे हो, आपको सैम्पलर्स के लिए आप पैसा देते हो?
100%.
मैं खरीदता हूँ. मैं $19
हम देते हैं सर.
हाँ, तो वही है ना. तो somebody needs to set up a structure like that within the country for artists.
Well, people pay carriage fee because there is a law prescribed for it.
No, there is no law. There is no law. Only recently has the law come in. This has been going on forever.
It is regulated under TRAI, and there are regulations into place.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of time, but I want to add one point.
Yeah.
I want to add one point. Currently, we are going through COVID, and a lot of people have lost their lives. I know a lot of close people who've lost their lives, and still, who does not know in our country that wearing mask is compulsory? Social gathering should not happen. Okay, who from our country does not know that? Everybody knows that. We do not follow it until and unless we have a danda from police or we have strict regulation. That is who we are. We have to first agree to that point. Until and unless there is a law which is strict, which has to be followed, you cannot ask people to pay or follow any rule. That's the irony, but that's the truth. So हम कुछ भी बनाए उसको कोई फॉलो थोड़ी करेगा जब तक लॉ नहीं है उसके बारे में.
Just I agree with you. लेकिन क्या हुआ ब्रॉडकास्ट इंडस्ट्री में? पहले प्लेटफॉर्म वाले प्लेसमेंट फी लेते थे, फिर बाद में टीआरए ने रेगुलेशन बनाया. Hardly a year and a half ago जब आया.
अनिल, इसको डिफरेंस क्या पता है? Unlike music, कंटेंट में उसमें you can just shut off your tap. Okay, आप उसको सिग्नल मत दो. In music it is not. आप कहीं से भी उठा लो ना, मार्केट से CD, everywhere digital music is available. You just pick it off the shelf. No one buys, any streaming platform does not buy music from a label or they just pick up the music, whatever is available for the market or digital service, and start playing it. No, it's not that they are purchasing it. So the ease of availability of music makes it more difficult to regulate. You just can't regulate it. Unlike a signal, you can just shut off your signal to that transponder or to that everything.
इंडिया में CD का बिजनेस बंद हो गया है.
सारा डिजिटल म्यूजिक अवेलेबल है ना आज भी.
अच्छा, so आप कह रहे हो कि हैक करके डाउनलोड कर रहे हैं लोग?
हैक अप करते हैं, लेजिटिमेटली परचेज करते हैं, बट दैट इज ओनली फॉर योर प्राइवेट कंजम्पशन. नो, इट इज नॉट गिवन टू यू फॉर योर पब्लिक परफॉर्मेंस और एवरीथिंग. नो.
ओके. सो आदित्य, आपकी क्या राय है? आप तो चुप बैठे हो बहुत समय के लिए.
Rakesh ji, as Rakesh ji said, basically the stream and the feed is not in our control. So as in the case of broadcasters, the feed and everything is in the control of the broadcasters. And the other thing, as you said, the distribution fee and the marketing fee, that has already started in India as well. It has already started for the non-film song, where the platforms have started asking monies to the labels for non-film song, independent song, and for notifications, for placements. So that have already started in, not for the big films, because everyone know that even the OTTs require the big star, big film songs of big film, and that's for their benefit. And for that, it's not required, and they do it without any.
Okay. So in terms of regional music, you're a big region player. How has that been shaping up for you?
That's really going good. Regional is the regional is the segment which is growing in India, and because if you see the reach and the hurdles what regional labels have been facing earlier, the distribution was the biggest hurdle for regional labels, and now because of internet, it has become world has become their distribution platform, and it's growing. And because in India, because of the deep penetration of internet connection, smartphones, and everything, now even all the OTTs have seen that regional local content consumption is growing year on year, and everyone is regionalizing their platform. Lots of local, rural, all the rural people are wanting local content. Now it's very easily accessible for everyone, and the consumption of regional content is growing rapidly.
You see the future being even brighter?
Yeah, absolutely. Frankly speaking, in India, Bollywood is limited to 50%. The other remaining 50% is actually regional, which is still untapped, and there's huge scope, and it is yet to grow further.
Yeah. So, Raju,
Yeah.
In terms of, do you believe that for independent artists now, there is a good future?
I really look forward to that.
DIY coming up. Do you believe there's a great future?
I really feel so, because I think with this whole the scenario how it's going, also I don't know how much time it would take to actually come back to normalcy. This is the time period where a lot of scope for independent artists to actually come out with their works, and they're getting more opportunities to do work with the OTTs, the films, the shows, the web series, all that. And you see all new names come doing the work right now, musical works. I see a very, very good future ahead, because I see even whereas films are concerned, एक टाइम पे कम से कम 5-6 गाने होते थे फिल्म में, अब वो भी कम हुआ है. There is that difference coming. The kind of films, the kind of scripts being made, some films don't have songs. So I see a good balance between films and non-film works happening. And especially for independent artists, I think this is the right time. They should just be going ahead with it. I personally feel there's a very good time ahead.
और म्यूजिक सुपरवाइजर के लिए रोल बढ़ने वाला है इंडिया में, especially not composer, supervisor.
Yeah, why not? Because see, in any case, when you say music supervisor, what do you mean by a music supervisor?
Basically, he selects all the music for it, whether it's selecting existing old tracks, new tracks. He commissions somebody new to make the music. That's a difference. And he's not a music director. A music director.
Correct. So a music supervisor holds a very, very important key towards giving opportunities to the new independent artists' works, because wo jab plug in hote hain into the right places, the scope and the possibilities of that music work coming in front of the world, I mean, that increases the chances of in every aspect to benefit the work. So I think music supervisors definitely will be a role which will be a really important role.
Atul, what's the perspective on music supervisors?
It's something that has to be introduced to the market because people don't understand it. And again, coming back to what Tarsim was saying, we are a certain kind of people, so we have to understand that kind of person we are. Yeah. Now, we've had a history of Bollywood from the 1930s, right, where a film producer engages the composer, the music director as they're called, to create the music, and he is owner of all the rights. Now, tomorrow if you get a music supervisor and he says, license this song from here, license that song from there, you're not owning those rights. Remember that. And when you go to our friends like Saregama and Sony and T-Series, etc., and say, I can give the music, but I can't give you this song composition rights. I can't give you this. It's a bit of a story there, So that's not the way the Indian industry works. So therefore, the role of a music supervisor needs to be explained first, and also, I think the opportunity, like Raju was saying, it is growing. I see on the positive side. So what I said was, we have to understand what the pitfalls are.
Teaching music supervisors.
Sorry?
A lot of OTT shows are having, or films on OTT are having old songs playing out in them. So syncing is happening.
So yeah, getting an old song into your film, let's say it's not the main role of a music supervisor.
Understand that. Yeah, there's some amount of supervision coming into OTTs.
Yes, there is. So OTTs will change the game. That's where the growth is going to come from. But I think it's also important to understand that people were in the West. So music supervision is something that we're learning from the West, and there are production libraries, library music. So just think of it practically. If I'm making a 3-hour series, and someone comes and says, "Okay, I have a music library. I have 600 hours of music." It's very difficult for me to go through 600 hours of music to pick 3 hours for my film, right? And I was talking to a producer the other day who's got a very successful show running on Netflix at the moment. And he said it was just so easy for me to pick up a phone, call somebody and say, "Here, watch this," and do the score the music for me. And it's quite possible that, when Raju does that, he might charge less than going to some big fancy international, production house to license their music. So it is going to be a 2-step process. It's not something that will happen overnight. Number one, you need the education. And number two, you need the business model to change slightly so that if your rights are going to go to a music label, for example, they understand that they may not own the publishing.
Sure, I get it. Now, as far as you're concerned, how's your publishing business going?
So, last year, since the pandemic hit, some very interesting things happened because we were essentially assigning regional and small national labels to represent them outside India. And then end of 2019, we became IPRS members. And we had singer-songwriters whom we were representing in India, plus the world outside. So the funny thing is that our revenues during this lockdown period, just from the publishing business, whether from the international markets into India or Indian revenues that we're collecting, they have gone up 5 times, 5x. Okay, it's still not enough to buy a vada pav with what Rakesh pays me, but I think it's a good sign. No reflection on IPRS, Rakesh. It's just that the kind of music we represent is only the independent singer-songwriters. So obviously there's not too much money in that business. But it has gone up 5x because also we are now representing, since middle of last year, we are representing Cobalt, which is one of the big international publishers, plus a handful of other smaller ones. So business has actually changed very positively for us. And I'm seeing a lot of growth. I'm seeing a lot of opportunity. So it's really good times ahead. And of course, like Raj was mentioning earlier, people are becoming aware of their rights. So if you're an independent singer-songwriter, what are you looking for? You're looking for good distribution, which Hina offers you. And you're looking for a good publishing company with some turnkey company that offers you very good publishing.
Great, fantastic.
So sir, once again, what about management? What's wrong with the managers?
The managers, there are so few managers. There are so few good, trustworthy managers that every artist is knocking on the doors of those same managers. So it's a question of demand and supply. I think we need a lot of more management companies to come up.
Yeah,
True that.
True. अभी questions है इधर बहुत. इधर एक question है. मुझे Joydeep Roy. My question is, if a new song released from the singer's own YouTube channel, then what about copyright for lyricist and composer? Who's going to answer this? Harsh or Rakesh? Who's going to answer this? Atul.
Yeah, let Harsh. Harsh has been quiet for a long time.
हम बोलने नहीं दे रहे बेचारे.
I've been trained.
He's taking notes.
What about copyright for lyricist and composer?
So can you please repeat the question? Sorry,
Joydeep Roy is asking this question.
Yes.
If a new song released from singer's own YouTube channel, let's say what he's saying is if a new song is released by a singer on his own YouTube channel, then what about copyright and royalty for lyricist and composer?
If he's the author and composer for all the rights in the song, I mean, if he's the one who's creating,
he's a singer. He's not the lyricist or the composer.
So then there are separate rights. There are separate rights which will be protected, and the usual process of law will follow, which Mr. Nigam manages. So I mean,
I'll explain it. I'll explain it. Harsh, this is now more transaction driven. It's not an in principle. What happens is when a singer does it on his own channel, as Hina and others they know because they manage their channels. If you are uploading it as a music video, the loyalty for all encompassing comes to you. If you are loading it as a music video, or as an SRA, what we call under a CMS, then the publishing is can be claimed either through IPRS or the author composer if he has his own publisher, or they can claim it. So it's not that it's gone away. There will be royalties, but on digital side, how business models are. So if there's an advertisement on your Facebook page or on your YouTube channel, if there are advertisements, only then you would get royalty. It's not that you get paid per play basis, because it's not the model on YouTube or a Facebook on those platforms. So the author composer will make royalties according to whatever advertisements come on that channel.
Okay, now don't get offended. It's Ashish Rego asking a question.
Yeah, no, why to get offended by anyone?
Okay.
We know Ashish very well for a long time. Yeah.
The first thing is the
Royalty of authors recognized by radio stations, streaming services, broadcasts and broadcasters, and who are the entities that are not yet paying IPRS and why?
All the radio broadcasters are not paying. They say that, there needs to be no separate right, as we discussed throughout the session, that they said that they need to pay only royalty once because they are using a sound recording. So they don't need to pay separately to take a license and pay separate royalties for publishing to authors and composers. They said, we pay only once, you can go and claim it from the sound recording guys.
Okay, so what about the streaming services and the broadcaster and the TV?
Streaming services also the same.
Okay. I thought they were more international and they were open
The
to
international players are all doing it. The Indian players, unfortunately.
fixes the Amazons.
Amazon pays, the YouTube pays, Facebook, as I said. Even Hangama, to a certain extent, has started paying up. But all the other big players, see, they're the big daddies of the industry. Those who have the maximum.
Stars.
Is IPRS doing anything to enforce its rights? I mean, what steps is it taking?
See, we are not a trigger-happy company. We are trying to engage and on a longer-term discussion with them. See, it's the easiest route is to fight it out and go to the courts. It's a long process. We have never been now very trigger-happy. So it's a long process. We are engaging with them, but ultimately, if our patience runs out and if we see that there is no, headway going through, it's not that they have said no, but it's a question of valuation and everything. If it doesn't work out, we may take some action. You may see that.
Okay. Now there's Aniket Bhosle. Is the music industry ready to work on pay-per-play or pay-per-view to broadcasters, similar how digital ecosystem is paying? So Aditya, you want to take this up since you're a label?
Yeah. It has already, even the entire broadcast industry is, the current licensing regime is as per pay-per-view across languages. In some cases where the repertoire is large enough and the monies go, basically it's like bulk discount deals and the flat value deals, what happens, but the basis is pay-per-view.
Okay. Anyone else wants to take this up? Atul or anyone else?
I think Aditya's answered it. I mean, that's the way the business is.
So Kunal Bindra is asking a question. What are the challenges in bringing a single window license for sound recordings and underlying works? PRS for music and PPL in the UK, for example, have the music license. One single window.
So, the argument against it is that the 2012 amendment doesn't allow societies to license for each other. Which can be changed if everyone is in agreement. And I am fully in support of it. I've always said it. I believe that a single window is the way you're going to increase revenues for the industry, and not just increase, you will multiply them manyfold. See, at the end of the day, the consumer is really not bothered whether Tarsim said it, right? He's going to pay $100. He doesn't care. You decide how you want to split it. But you can't have 5 or 6 people going to the same chap and saying, you're playing music, pay me, you're playing music, pay me. It doesn't work like that.
That's a discussion industry and I were having earlier.
Yeah. So the number one is, I think there needs to be a single window license. Number two, and I'm very clear in my mind about this, if there is an income tax act which says that we need to pay income tax, right? If we earn an income, there is a copyright act which says that when you play music, you're supposed to pay. We are not asking the government for any favors. We are saying implement the law. The way, if I don't pay you $3,000 after paying you lakhs in income tax, you bloody come after me. You send me notices, this, that, and the other. There are 14 million establishments in this country. I am guessing at least half of them play music. Between IPRS and PPL, we don't license 50,000. Now, why is it not mandatory for people who are playing music in those establishments to file a return with the government saying that I am compliant, I am following the law? Am I asking the government to do something out of the ordinary? Certainly not. You're implementing your own law. And let's talk business. If you're paying 12% GST in the music industry, and the music industry today is 1,500 crores, if that goes to 15,000 crores, how does it hurt the government? By doing nothing except implementing its own law.
Yeah, but I think there also have to be association to association agreements.
Exactly what I said.
Food-
It doesn't matter. See, it doesn't matter. First, get the money in. That's what Tarsem said, right? Get the money in. Make people pay.
But does
We'll fight how to listen. Once the money is in, do you know how IPRS? So just for everyone, do you know how IPRS got the labels to sign with them as publishers? Nobody was a member of IPRS. I used to work at CBS, which was on the 11th floor of Dalamal Tower, and IPRS was on the 7th floor. We had strict instructions: never stop on the 7th floor because IPRS will ask us for money. One day, Sanjay Tandon walked into an IMI meeting. It was IPI in those days. And he said, I have 3 crores lying in my bank, which belongs to you. How can I pay you? Because you're not members. Matter got sorted out that day.
I get it now. But what I'm saying is, does the IPRS have agreements with the Food and Restaurant Hotel Association of India, with different bodies which represent this?
You don't, listen, I'm an income tax payer. Which body am I a part of that the government collects tax from me?
Hardly anyone is paying income tax in India.
No, so then that's not my problem. No, that's the government's problem. So if they are lax in their work, why should I suffer?
Anil, the different, as what Atul said, right? What happens is, we talk to associations. If once you agree with an association, okay, that this is the rate, they may hard bargain on the tariffs, we commit. But when it comes to collection, they say, no, you go back to all my 50,000 members. It can't be fair that now I start chasing, and if people don't pay, they say, no, you please take action against them. Then what is the purpose of negotiating with an association?
Okay.
It was there to bring down the rates, to bring down parity, to ease of business. But it can't happen that you want all the good things. And I told you, get us all the collections put together and give it to us. You want 50% discount, we'll give you 50% discount for the first year, no problem. But I can't run to 50,000 places or 1 million places to just collect royalties. It will be simply impossible for us.
Okay, I get the point. The other option is going digital and let them pay online.
No. Hang on, Anil. So, the thing is, again, we are talking about someone paying money to go and watch a concert. They're not going to do it yet. You said people don't pay income tax, right?
But
get the government behind it. What are we asking for? We are asking for an implementation of the current law.
Arijit Singh perform.
Sorry?
Good news for Tarsem, they'll go to watch Arijit Singh perform and they'll pay.
No. So on a serious note, all I'm saying is that the advantage of digital is that you can get every single establishment in this country to file a return most easily, saying that they have a music license. What is the problem? Explain the problem to me.
Well, the problem is, let's look at me as a hotel guy. Okay, I don't know where to go. I have to come to the IPRS office. It's not simple. The entire payment gateway is not simple for me.
So,
Anil, that is why we had said, Anil, that is why we had done to pay online. We said, you just come, everything is online. You can just fill in your details and payments can be made online. The license is generated online for you.
It's totally cashless.
Rakesh, let's forget about that. I'm saying you pay the government. Don't even pay us. Chalo.
Yeah.
Pay the government. The government says every year you have to file your return. Your shop and establishment license is there. I know who you are. Every year you file a return saying that you have taken this license for 20,000 rupees or whatever it is.
So what's the holdback on this then?
I'm asking you.
No, you tell me. You're dealing with, as a representative of the music industry.
I don't know. The government is so involved with telling us 31D and 41C and all that. Why don't you get with it? Yeah, get with the program. You have a law. Why don't you implement your own law? Why are you telling me what to do? Should we have more copyright societies? We can't handle bloody one copyright society, 2 copyright societies in this country. You want to open up more, and you're inviting stakeholders. You're spending so much time doing all this discussion. just implement your own law, no?
Point
No,
taken.
but this reminds me of something जो Atul said, and तो डंडे वाली बात जो तरसन ने बोली. I am on experience. One of the producers, नाम नहीं लूँगा, but when the service tax thing had started, you know, that person was like, he said, I'm giving you this much, I'm deducting this and all that, so that you don't have to pay, I don't have to pay. So, but I don't have to pay, you have to pay. So he said, no, but what's your problem if I'm saving money and all that? So he just wouldn't understand or listen to me. But he did it with one project, and I think another 20 days industry में raid शुरू हुई. उसके बाद में आज तक कभी कुछ नहीं बोला. हो गया.
That's it. वो डंडे वाली बात.
See, अभी अक्षय ओझा ने एक प्रश्न पूछा है. In conjunction to the validity of the copyrights, if the author is in India, then it's 60 years post the death of the author. What if it's a private limited company or any legal entity owning the copyrights? Till when will that last? This is to Harsh and Anush. Post the death of the copyright existent.
So, as far as literary, dramatic, musical, and artistic works, these 4 categories are concerned, it is with respect to 60 years post the death of the author.
Yeah.
And it has to be a natural person. With respect to a company, it can only be in relation to your cinematograph, film, and sound recording, which is why it is taken 60 years from the publication. So there's a difference created within the act itself between the term of the underlying works and between cinematograph, films, and sound recording.
Can you keep it simpler?
So with respect to, say, musical composition, it would be 60 years from the year next from when the author dies. That is the term of the copyright. But when it comes to the sound recording, there is a separate term. It would be from the date on which it is published, 60 years from then.
Okay, thank you for that. Is it any Harsh, is it the same from your perspective or any other point of view?
No, that's fine.
Okay, fantastic. So then there is a question from Ushashi Dattagupta. I want to ask, I have many songs having YouTube views over 24 million. Being a regional Bengali film composer, why the amount is not that great, and what about royalties on background score for films? How does that work? Who's going to take this up?
Yeah, question is, you know, you may have 24 million views or you may have 240 million views. It depends how much advertisement comes onto your channel. And 24 million views, maybe what IPRS collects is for Indian works in Indian territory. You know, if your views are outside of India, then, you know, IPRS doesn't collect those royalties. You need to go and separately collect those royalties back from the various societies or wherever you own that. With regards to background music, yes, we are in talks with all the channel owners and OTT players, but, you know, we have not been able to reach common ground in terms of value of licenses.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, you know, let's talk about the business models. Hina, is subscription going to be the way forward, or is it going to be AVOD? Is it going to be FreeVOD with then going towards a freemium structure kind of a thing, or is it going to be towards TVOD? Sorry, TAOD. I'm trying to audio on demand, or is it going to be AOD, advertising audio on demand? What's the model for this industry? Is it subscription?
I've gotten lost in all your abbreviations, but I really think AVOD.
Transaction audio on demand, advertising audio on demand. What are the business models?
So essentially, I think AVOD is a beginner's tool. I really think it's a byproduct of an emerging market. I think in India, like with any other emerging market, the graph currently is consistent as far as subscriptions are concerned. I think it's under 1% of the population. But I do believe, like with other emerging markets, within the next 2 to 5 years, depending on the economy, we're going to hit that acceleration trajectory, so to speak. We're going to hit that thing. And once that happens, I think we'll reach about 15 to 20% of the population, where it'll be subscription-based. Of course, the caveat here is that 60% of India is rural. So maybe conservatively about 10% is where we should be.
How much in your estimate?
About 10% of the population between 2 and 5 years, depending on the economy.
How much per annum? What's the annual ARPU going to be like? The average revenue per user?
I wouldn't know that as of right now.
And in absolute terms, do you place it at 40 million? Do you place it at 100 million?
I don't right now. Is there anyone else who would want to take that? Who would figure it out?
Yeah, Atul?
No, but I think Ina said it. If you're talking about 10% of the population, you do the math, no?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So that's probably your user base today. It's about 10%. Your monthly active users are about 10% of your population.
I think so. It would not be 10% of the population, Hina, probably Atul, I'm just saying. It may be 10% of the installs who will get paid subscribers, you know, because 10% of your population is like, you know, huge number.
I'm not
Even
talking
10%
about,
of the installs would be assuming to be fair.
yeah, no, I'm talking about the monthly active users they talk about. Today, it's, the thumb rule is about 10%. But subscriptions, I see a challenge because we're back to the same old story. अरे तूने पैसा दिया क्यों? तू तारसेम को जानता नहीं है उसके प्लेटफॉर्म तो फोन कर वो फ्री में दे देगा.
So is it going to be an advertising audio on demand market?
Yeah, so you know, I have a slightly weird view on this because I think we are not in alignment. In the days of the physical product, the elements that made money from music were all in alignment. So the music, the artist, the music label, the distributor, and the shop. We all wanted to sell the music and we wanted to sell lots of the music at a high price. In today's scenario, the artist, the label, and the distributor are in the same position, but the store is in a different position because he wants traffic, whether it consumes the music, whether it pays or doesn't pay, because his game is valuation.
Or data consumption.
So, yeah, or data consumption. So he's driving price down. He's giving product free, which hurts us. So we are not in alignment. So we need to relook at the business model. And it comes back to the question that was asked just now. I've got 24 million streams. Why am I not making money? You're not making money because that's the way the digital business has been structured. The per stream rate, and it's not necessarily paid per stream, as Rakesh is taking pains to point out. It's on the advertising, and that algorithm, nobody understands. Nobody sitting over here can tell you if you have 24 million streams, how much money you should be making, because it doesn't go by per stream. It's gone by the advertising, right?
I can help.
It also,
Atul sir, I can help giving her an idea, though.
1 second.
For a base.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it depends on the advertiser, the kind of advertisers picking up that stream. So in India these days, the low cost advertisers are picking up streams on YouTube. So a lot of the pickings from the channels have gone down. Unless you're a premium network, then the premium advertisers come. Anyway, continue.
So let's hear what Tarsem had to say.
Yeah.
So one of our very dear friend who I feel was one of the best guy who made us understand this before he passed away last year, Samir Bangara, founder of QKey. He explained this very beautifully over a chat like this, that for a standard calculation, standard market, out of 100 views you have on YouTube, approximately 30 YouTube views gets an ad at an approximate. In a typical scenario, the formula is that you get ads between 6 paisa to 30 paisa per ad on YouTube, you know, across timing. Diwali में है तो ज़्यादा महंगा मिलता है, New Year है तो महंगा होगा, dull season है तो सस्ता होगा, but average में आप ये 15 पैसा पकड़ के चलो एक ad का, और 55% is given to you as the YouTube channel owner and 45% YouTube keeps with itself. अगर आपका कंटेंट दूसरे देशों में ज्यादा देखा गया है, कनाडा में, तो वहां पे रेट्स हाई हैं तो आपको हाई मिलेंगे, बट फॉर बेसिक एवरेज कैलकुलेशन यू गेट 1 to 1.5 पैसा पर व्यू. Okay, just for calculation, it might be as more as 4-5 paisa also if you are a premium content owner, your channel has multiple subscribers, but 1 to 1.5 paisa is a basic calculation. If 25 million views हैं आपके, तो आपका टोटल कलेक्शन उस YouTube चैनल को 2-2.5 लाख रुपए तो आया ही होगा. अगर 2-2.5 लाख रुपए मास्टर पे आया है तो ऑब्वियसली पब्लिशिंग पे बहुत कम आया होगा. तो आपका वो जो क्वेश्चन है ना, ऐसा लगता है कि 25 मिलियन व्यूज है, 2.5 करोड़ व्यूज है, बहुत पैसा आया होगा. सच्चाई ऐसी नहीं है, इतना पैसा नहीं आता है YouTube से. तो जो भी मतलब फॉर अ बेसिक कैलकुलेशन 1 million YouTube views, 10 to 15,000 bucks is what you generally get. Correct me guys if I'm going anywhere wrong. This is an estimation for idea.
Plus it is just what Tarsem said, you know, अगर 20-25 हजार at top end भी आ गया, that gets also divided between the publisher 50%, the lyric writer and the composer. So it's not that, you know, 25,000 is just for one person.
Correct.
तारसेम ऐड करो कि लो वैल्यू एडवर्टाइजर आजकल ज्यादा आ रहे हैं YouTube पे, पहले हाई वैल्यू वाले में.
So
Correct,
Anil, you have to also see what's happening in the international market. So there has been a big outcry against the streaming services and how they're paying. And the latest is Paul McCartney is now making noise saying that they need to relook at the streaming business and how it's structured, which is something that we old dogs in the industry have been saying for a very long time, right? Because the idea of subscription, and everyone says, oh, we'll disturb the current acceptance of the subscription rates. When nobody's bloody subscribed to you, what acceptance and what rejection? So you have to relook at this all over again. And I keep saying it. See, music is not a commodity. The more you commoditize it, the less value you're going to get for it. In my subscription, I don't listen to American hip hop. I don't listen to Indian classical music. Why am I getting it within the subscription that I have to listen when I'm listening to pop music? You have to start breaking it down by genre, or you change the way it is structured. You say all catalog is paid for. So in your subscription, you can access any amount of catalog. All new releases have to be paid for separately.
That's your pay-per-view kind of.
Yeah. So start re-looking at the model.
The broadcast industry is suffering in the same way.
So the platforms are holding.
They are causing pain to the industry.
Correct. So the point is that you're not open to discussion. And again, on the other side, you have the story about MGs, where the music labels keep asking for higher MGs. These guys are crying, saying that listen, we are not recovering the monies.
This in 2010, it hasn't changed.
Exactly.
It connects 2008, 9, 10. We were talking the same story.
Exactly. When we did the Nokia music conferences, this was the same discussion we used to have.
Yeah. So nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed.
No, Anil, I'm saying if nothing has changed, the question now that nothing has changed. Just tell me, suppose if these guys use Atul's music or Tarsem's music or Ati Gupta's music or created by Raju Singh, they want to give it free. Daba ke paisa, unko nahi paisa chahiye. As you rightly said, they want to get into the valuation game. What should the content owner get? Just because he's not charging anything or anything, should the content owner not get any amount of money? Why should he subsidize someone else's business? Yeah,
absolutely.
Why should Tarsem or Aditya Gupta or Atul or Raju Singh subsidize his business? Yeah,
I agree with you. I totally agree.
So that is where comes the question of MG. Now, but you may say why MGs keep going up and down. But if you see the number of subscribers, what that installs, they have gone up to 300 million for audio streaming services. But see the kind of payout what comes into the industry.
How many actives are there? I have Savan, I never used it in my phone.
Assuming that only 33% will be actives, we're still talking about a big number.
You see, the problem, Rakesh, also is that where do you get the valuation right of that MG? See, just because you paid 100 last year and the label wants to show a growth of 20% and says you pay me 120 this year, right? It doesn't work like that if the service itself is not making money, if it's floundering.
The MG
So we have to have some different kind of mechanisms over here. Aditya, start laughing.
Aditya wants to say something. Bolo, Aditya.
The MG days are gone. Now the time is all about fixed value deal. If you want to license, it's like you have to bend down and you have to agree to a flat value, which includes all your forthcoming releases.
Which is a conversation you can have, Aditya, because you have a certain amount of catalog and market share. Tarsem can't have that conversation today because he's got 24 releases.
That's true. And
they won't talk to him. So then what is a guy like Tarsem supposed to do? And the reason to have collectives like IPRS is not to protect Aditya. Aditya manages fine without IPRS. It's to protect people like Tarsem.
I don't think Aditya will agree with you on the royalties part fully. On the licensing part, it's separate.
So anyway, but you get my point, right? So you have collectives to set industry standards and to ensure that the smallest players are also getting a fair deal. Otherwise, the majors take away everything. I mean, we have, let's say, between 7 and 10 majors in this country. The maximum amount of money paid out by the platforms is MGs to those majors.
Yeah, so that's another thing which people have been asking. The composition of the IPRS board, though it's looking like a new organization, it needs to have more creators on it.
More creators means?
Lyricists and musicians, music composers.
we have Raju Singh here, we have Mr. Javed Akhtar, we have Sameer Anjan, we have Mayur Puri, we have Vidya Sagar, we have Syed Ahmed, we have Saiti ji, who's from Telugu market, big guy. So what more do you want? In the sense, there is a limited space on the board. See, everyone, Anil, understand, the board can't be like, it's not like a parliament here. I can't have 500 people onto a board to run it. So the board is always be a limited thing. We have, in fact, have regional committees now. Tamil Nadu, there is an ad hoc committee. There is every language we have set up committees so that, they can discuss the problems there and come back to us with, their issues or possible solutions. So, we can only accommodate that much at the board level. But yes, we are open to suggestions from everyone. It's not that, anything what we make is, or the board makes is cast in stone. No, we are there. It's a continuously learning process. We also imbibe the best practices, what is happening abroad, so that, we can try and service better our members, improve things, change things. Nothing. We are not saying that nothing can not be changed. Everything is open for a change, to betterment. Everything is because life is always constantly changing. The business environment is changing on a day-to-day basis. We are also learning things.
I've got another one.
Just one sec. So I just wanted to add to that, Anil. There is a structure to the board where there's an equal number of publishers, composers, and lyric writers. So
I'm losing you.
There's equal representation.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's another question which has come to me on WhatsApp, which is talking about in terms of how much can you all go forward in terms of transparency? Are you all transparent enough? That's a question which has come to me.
What exactly? So this is something that amuses me constantly, because any new business that starts, someone's daddy has some money or some VC has come along, and the only thing they have is paint everyone who's been in the business completely black and say, there's been no transparency today. Today we will give you transparency. What the hell are you talking about? Everything is bloody digital now, right? Hina just said, you get onto TuneCore.
I'm talking about specifically about IPRS is what they're talking about.
What transparency do you want? Okay, let me put it that way. So I'm not an IPRS board member or whatever, but I'm just saying, what exactly are you talking about? What do you want to know?
Thing at is if I as a music composer can go online and see what my royalties are, what is my collection?
So you can get a statement. Let me ask you the other way. So you think that, let's say the PRS is the most efficient society in the world. Show me where you can go online and check how much money you're making on PRS. Can you? You can't. You have to wait for their statement.
Sure.
So what's this big thing about shouting at IPRS?
Actually, Rakesh ji, so right now in this 2021 copyright rules, they have introduced another provision for annual transparency report. So, what do you have to say on that? Because
it's a good thing, Anushri, we are already having all of those on the website, in the sense we have annual accounts from which stream what is coming in. If you see my annual accounts, which shows that how much royalties which we have distributed, we file returns with the government. If they want to say, we will also put that out, how much of the total royalties we have paid out to the authors, to the composers, to the publishers, and to international society. All that will be put in. But if you expect us to tell that, what royalty has been paid to Sameer Anjan or to Raju Singh or to T Series, that can't be in the name of transparency. That can't be the name of transparency. And Anushri, I'll tell you one more thing. I have, in my whole life, in 15 years, 16 years in IPRS and other companies, I have yet to see a single person who says that, he's satisfied with the royalty he gets. He says, my song, I got to any author, composer or to publisher, मेरा गाना तो सब तरफ चलता है दुनिया भर में, मुझे royalty इतनी कम क्यों मिली है?
But अगर
what is the perception of royalty? You have 90% of people in India not paying you royalties. So, what is this? And this perception कि मेरा गाना सब तरफ चलता है तो मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा royalty मिलनी चाहिए. We have to have faith in the system. It's not that कि otherwise.
राकेश, एक और WhatsApp आया है कि एनुअल रिपोर्ट में सब लोग अपना सैलरीज डिक्लेयर करते हैं मैनेजमेंट में, और टॉप परफॉर्मर्स का सैलरी डिक्लेयर करते हैं.
तो हमारा भी तो सीईओ का सैलरी होता है उसमें रिपोर्ट में.
डिस्बर्समेंट आप लोग कर सकते हो फिर?
नहीं, आप सीईओ की सैलरी तो इज ऑलवेज देयर, इज ऑलवेज बीन देयर फॉर पास्ट 5 years.
डिस्बर्समेंट ऑफ आर्टिस्ट की पेमेंट्स उसकी भी आप डिस्क्लोज कर सकते हो.
नहीं, इंडिविजुअल्स की नहीं कर सकते हैं.
How can you? You have confidentiality clauses. So that's like going to a music label and saying, "Acha, tell me how much royalty you paid to Michael Jackson." Like, come on, what are you talking about? That's not transparency.
अतुल मैं सिर्फ क्वेश्चंस रेज कर रहा हूँ यार.
नहीं नहीं अरे हम वो भी एक्सप्लेन कर रहा है यार, वो आपको बता नहीं रही. इज नॉट आर्ग्यूइंग आउट विथ यू. इन विच सोसाइटी इन द वर्ल्ड, you know, we need to understand which society in the world gives out royalty statement or royalty disbursements to its author every member wise.
Okay, Harsh, you have this? Harsh, anything to say on this?
Yeah, so I mean, this new amendment that has come in of this annual transparency report might probably iron out some of these concerns, if any people may have, because I mean, as Rakesh put it, it's possible that IPRS has been doing that already. So, I mean, very well, then they are already in compliance of the requirement. Even if that is not indeed the case, the requirements are pretty detailed. So if I may read out some of them, then you would have to give a report on the activities in the financial year, number of refusals to grant a license, financial information on total royalties collected, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, on the specifics of it, whether it is impossible to provide details of whether there is a author-wise, there is possibility of being able to provide whether royalties, how much royalty has been given to a particular author, and what was the reason behind that. That really needs to be debated further, maybe. I mean, at this juncture, it will be difficult to comment whether it's an exercise which is in futility and cannot be done at all. It may be. I mean, that may indeed be the case. Rakesh and Atul are closer to the situation there. Frankly, I'm not. I don't know what operational difficulties may arise if that is indeed becomes the norm. But at the same time, I mean, really the concern, apart from knowing royalties or what the other authors have won, really the concern has to be whether you got your share of the royalties properly or not. And whether the share that has been, I mean, released to you, whether that is consistent with what your expectations were or whatever other, I mean, disclosures the society makes. So to that extent, I think the focus has to be there rather than knowing as to what the other authors are earning and what their royalties are, frankly speaking.
So thank you very much, all of you all. I think it's been a very, very educative and engaging 1 hour, 45 minutes. I don't know, this must be a record that you're a part of a session. Please forgive me for elongating it so much, but you all have so many interesting to say. I'll have last words from each of you, beginning with Harsh. You know, anything to round up what went through this and what you learned and what you'd like to advise other people who are watching us.
So I would say, I mean, first of all, this information, I mean, this discussion was very, very informative for me also. I mean, we are always usually on one side of the spectrum. I mean, we see disputes coming to us and we really focus on that and proceed accordingly. But to know the industry more, I mean, listening to all the stakeholders here has been very, very informative. It actually educates us to actually take their interests to the court and present it accordingly. So one is thank you to all the panelists for that. What I would say, I mean, there is something that I would like to communicate, I mean, in the music industry that I have seen in the past, and because I've been a part of this industry for quite long in terms of handling their disputes, I would say that it's essential that each stakeholder understands the concerns, needs, and their contribution that they make in making this industry as a whole. So to put it simply, I mean, like what Rakesh said, and I would like to just take that forward, that the intent to understand what each cog in the wheel contributes and why that particular person is important to the entire system and how that person takes the system forward is very, very important. I think if that is understood by each stakeholder, like Hena's company plays a different role of distribution, Raju plays a different role of making the content itself, a producer will play a different role of making sure that that work comes to life. I mean, I think it's important that no one player believes that he can run the show or run the system. And if that understanding is common and people are able to, I mean, recognize that, I think the number of disputes will reduce. And the confusion that is there of who should be paid, how much that person should be paid, I think people will be able to resolve it on their own and they'll really not come to us. I don't know whether that suits me, but I believe that that's better for the industry. I believe that that's how they should see it. So, I mean, and yes, one thing which as a lawyer, I would say that I'll be happier if the laws, the way they are written, I mean, presently, if they are drafted better, because frankly, if you ask me currently the amendments that are there, I mean, you can make 100 interpretations out of the way that it has been written. So as a feedback for myself and for people on this side, and I mean, whoever is listening, I do believe that we can do much better in terms of how we draft our laws, because that will protect the interest of each of the stakeholders as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just one last word, which I would say that, I mean, because I'm in this, I would say it's related to media and all, and I'm a movie buff. So one of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption. Okay. And the times probably right now as we are here is really, really grim as we see the situation. But that movie, frankly, gave out one message, which is hope. And that's what I would have for the music industry, for the world outside, and for everybody. So please stay healthy and stay in good shape. Thank you.
Last words from Aditya, and Aditya followed by Tarsem, because they have to leave by 5:55. Anything else you want to talk about? Any points you missed? What you understood? What your takeaways are? What you'd like to advise the industry? What you'd like to see change?
And nothing much. I would conclude by saying that requesting all the content users, platforms to start recognizing the hard work of the creators, the risks taken by the investors and the owners, and please start paying the rightful royalties, which is the need of the day.
Okay, Tarsem, आप कुछ कहना चाहोगे?
First of all, thank you to the entire team for organizing this, and thank you for inviting me. I'm very glad to be part of such an educated panel about IP. I mean, I have also cleared a few doubts for myself today. Whatever Harsh has, Adi has said, just continuation to that. My only request is all the stakeholders, whoever are listening, if you genuinely want IP business to become better, first make a promise to yourself that you will pay for music first. Okay, anybody who is on this panel who is listening to this, first don't use free services, pay for your music. It's less than a cup of tea. And promote every person around you, educate every person around to pay for music as well. And when everybody starts paying for music, trust me, our problems will still have problems, but our problems will be easily solvable and it will be easier. Okay. And currently COVID is hitting us bad, and I will just have prayers and hope we get over this soon and our industry becomes the same again for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raju. आपके लिए आप कुछ शब्द कहोगे आप?
I was just going to say कि तारसम की एक बात मैं लेके जा रहा हूँ कि अब जिनको हम एजुकेट या अवेयर करने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, उनमें ये तो एक क्वेश्चन उन्हीं को जाना चाहिए कि आप कहाँ पैसे देते हो. वो एटीट्यूड चेंज करना डेफिनेटली जरूरी है. What Tarsem said, that we have to start paying, make sure that we are paying it so that we can expect our royalties, somebody else is paying it. उनको किस मुंह से हम बोलें कि आप पे करो, पहले खुद अपने घर में हमको पे करना सब शुरू करना चाहिए. I think that's the thing. And I think listen to the music, enjoy it and stay safe.
कहा था पहले कि सब कंपोजर और लिरिक्स को अपने कैटलॉग्स और अपने सब कुछ अपडेट करना चाहिए ऑनलाइन with IPRS.
Yes, with IPRS. At the same time, IPRS के साथ अपडेट करना मतलब एक और चीज है, that you are acknowledging के मतलब you're getting on record that this song has been done by you. Tomorrow, any kind of a claim towards it or anything, that saves that. And the simplest thing for you to do, one thing is, पिछले I think lots of years back, I used to hear कि कैसेट होती थी, तो आप कैसेट या सीडी पे रिकॉर्ड करके आप अपने आप को मेल कर दो, and don't open the package. So now you just have your email, you can email it to yourself anyway. It is like, recorded, it comes on record. So that's kind of having a registration to your work that you've done this thing on this particular date with the recording there. So these are the things what I think everybody needs to do. And plus IPRS is there for you all. It is the place, it is our own society. I think we all need to become members and actually help them protect our rights.
Shukriya. Hina, your last words, any takeaways?
Yeah, so I agree with Harsh. I thought Harsh made a really good point. I think we all need to look at our industry holistically. We all play a role. Our job really is to make sure we play it the best we can in our little silos. Once we do that, I think we need to come together, figure out systems and procedures, and sometimes not get bogged down by baggage from the past or whatever. We have to look forward. This is our world right now. and what do we do to make it better, and for the creator, for all the people who depend on us to do it. So that's basically it. And I've really enjoyed being part of this panel. Thank you for having me, and I've learned a lot.
Okay. Anushri, your last words.
My last words, I think we all need to respect IP, enforce IP where it is required. And I reciprocate the sentiments of what Harsh said, what Hina said, what Arsene said. You need to pay for IP. I mean, otherwise there won't be any fair music.
So were you happy with the way it went today?
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of concerns earlier.
Not at all. I think it was an enlightening discussion.
Thank you. And Atul?
So, everyone thinks that I'm wedded to the hip with IPRS. So I must admit that I'm a very, very strong...
Your dogs.
I'm a very strong champion for IPRS. I think Raju said it. All composers, all writers need to become members of IPRS. All owners of copyright need to become members of IPRS. You have to strengthen the society for it to function effectively. That's one. Secondly, please understand this business is about hits. So don't look at your royalty checks and wonder why you've got such little money. Remember that the Beatles in their lifetime had created only about 220 songs. And last year, Paul McCartney and gang, the four of them, got some 24 million pounds last year, some 50 years after they broke up. So this is about hit music. Focus on writing hit songs if you want to see royalties. And last but not least, there are people who will help you with your business. So while it is DIY and that's been the focus on the music aspect and leave other bits to the professionals. Because I know so many people who say, my friend told me this, my friend told me that, and they're trying to do it all themselves. Don't do it. If you're music creators, create music, focus on your creation, become the Beatles, and let the other people do the job for you. IPRS is solidly behind you. You'll get your money.
Thank you. Last words, Rakesh.
Yeah, everyone has summarized it beautifully and said whatever they know. We just say that, IPRS, we are a different organization right now. Rome was not built in a day. We are wanting to change the landscape, the way we function, the way we collect, and the way we distribute. It will take some time. We require support, help, guidance, and from all the authors, composers, and publishers. It's because, no system is perfect. And given the the type of music and the kind of, low awareness in our country in terms of rights, in terms of usage and everything, it will take some time for the business models and for IPRS to actually come to a very decent stage the way internationally it has been accepted. Is because those societies there have hundreds of years of experience and they have fought those battles and those kind of disputes and resolved all of them. So please help IPRS, which is your society. Lay down your expectations. It may not fulfill everything day one, but it's a gradual process. We are on the way. We will make those changes and you will make those changes. So we say that, let us expect that, we are here to support the creators and the publishers and even the users. We are not here to extort money, but we are here to get fair share of what is due to the IP owners and the creators.
What will IPRS be like in 2025?
I will get a vada pav from them.
Stop it, yeah. You're getting vada pavs now. Don't say you'll get...
he's saying, India mein he'll get it on the New York street car.
I will cheer up the audience and you're saying vada pav milega. Abhi bhi vada pav. What do you see IPRS in 2025?
I see at least, if I think so by 2025, most of these rights on this issue duality should have been resolved. And a lot of users would paying is, I see it around 600 to 700 crores plus.
So it's about 4 times the revenue it is today.
4 to 5 times. At minimum, I'm saying.
So Atul, Sone ka vada pav. Vada pav award.
I thank all of the panelists for giving so much time. 2 hours of
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Fellow. And thank you to the audience for staying on connected. And thank you, all of you all. I hope it was fruitful for all of you all and fruitful for the audience. Goodbye from me, Anil Banwari, the founder and CEO and editor-in-chief of radioandmusic.com. Don't forget to enter the Clef Music Awards. They're for the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
Thank
all.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.